So that being said, anyway, that was the deal that Rick brokered for Tully and I for the 3-year deal.
So he works you out a 3-year deal, and then, well, something changes because, you know, this drug test is going to pop up for Tully Blanchard. And I'm curious, how does the word even get out? I mean, is this, you know, telephone, tell a friend, tell a wrestler? How did Turner know about a potential drug concern with Tully Blanchard in the WWF?
I'm sure it was in the sheets.
Ah, there you go.
When he went home, that was big news. When Tully, you know, that made the rounds. Now, there was no social media and cell phones and all that, but I mean, the sheets got the word out there pretty quickly. Well, you know, Tully's like everybody else, like myself, and, you know, whatever. The fact that he failed a drug test and got sent home early had nothing to do with what he was going to be doing going forward. But somebody, because Jim Herd would not have came up with this on his own. So now I finish my notice, get ready to go in for my meeting with Jim Herd to sign my new contract. Well, there's been a problem. They're not going to hire Tully. They think that it will be a black eye hiring a drug user, like he's the only guy that ever used drugs, for God's sakes, in this business. We can't hire him. It'll just look bad for the company. And Arn, I'm sorry, but you're not as valuable as a single as you guys were as a team. Now, Jim Herd would have never came up with that. He's not smart enough to come up with something like that.
So this is Jim Herd saying this to you.
Yes, me. I walked in, sat in his office, no warning, no forewarning about it, no nothing. We've decided not to hire Tully because we're still thinking we can get this resolved. You know, we're still thinking, okay, we'll be able to sort this out. Let me get in front of the guy and da-da-da-da-da. He already had his pitch. He was going to stick by it. He said, so we're going to cut your money. Instead of it being 350 times 3, it's going to be 156, 200, 250. So it cost me $150,000 that day.
Wow.
Yeah. At my house, that's a whole bunch of money.
At anybody's house, man. I mean, you're talking about $3,000 a week there, just gone, just like that.
Yep. And he says, he sees the look on my face and he goes, now, I could tell you're not happy with this and I don't blame you. You know, you can always go back to the WWF. Well, no, Jim, I can't just go back to the WWF. I turned in my notice. I worked the notice. I left. You can't just go and ask the guy. Yeah, I could ask the guy for my job back and he'd probably bring me in. But, you know, the crucifixion that followed would be epic.
And probably for less money.
Probably for half of what I was getting then.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things that, okay, well, I've got to take it. What are you going to do? It's still 3 years of money. That's decent. The other would have been great. It's decent. It's 3 years. Maybe I can get something done going forward. Who knows? But man, you talk about taking a damper off of a really, really good high that I was on, natural high, because all they were doing was television at the time.
Let's take a time out here and say too, it's a different wrestling world than what we know about today. I mean, these days, if, you know, a guy put in his notice with Vince and then he went and sat with Tony Khan and Tony, you know, had to give him a lower offer for whatever reason, the talent could say, well, you know what, I'm just going to go work in Japan and I'm going to work some indies and, you know, I'll pop up with the NWA or Impact or MLW here or there. But the indie scene was not nearly what it is now back in 1989.
Two options, really. WWF, the new guys in town, WCW.
Yeah. It's a different era for sure. So, you know, is Tully in that meeting when you're sitting with Jim, or is it just you and him?
No, he wasn't. All of his meetings with Herd were separate. And then I tell you, you know, what it did was when I left that office, not only was I furious and wanted to throw Herd off of the CNN tower, then it pissed me off at Tully. Each guy in this business has to do what he thinks is right on a daily basis. If you want to get up and go to the gym, that's your decision. If you don't go to the gym, that's your decision. But whatever the ramifications are of those decisions that you make, like partying one night, when they start affecting someone other than you, then it becomes an issue. That's why it's great, because when you're hurt, you can lean on your partner. And when you're sick, you can lean on your partner. And you're tired of driving, your partner can help you drive. All those things are great. But when your partner's screwing up a lot of times and they get fired, it really messes with what the office had planned for you guys as a team. Now I'm starting to blame Tully for this. And I'm getting hot, and it's like I call him and he said, well, they put off any meetings and they're just saying they're not interested. And it just went real south real quick.
So, just man to man, how frustrated are you, or upset or angry or hot, whatever descriptor you want to use, are you with Tully that perhaps him having a night of partying has now cost you 6 figures?
Very hot. He didn't cut my money. It wasn't his fault. He did screw up, and technically, and we had a issue with that for years. I don't know if I was justified in my thought process, or, just how brutal it was in my mind of what happened. I mean, the guy did what he did. He made his own decision. I think Herd overreacted and ended up screwing us because he could. I don't know who the little bird was in his ear. Somebody was, because I just don't see him coming up with that explanation. But if they needed to save 150 grand that much, with all the guys that they were signing and would show up for 1 or 2 TVs, and then you wouldn't see them for the term of their contract, 2 years. Some guys were getting $3,000 a week just to sit home. If they had to screw me that badly to get that 156 grand, what else is there at the end of the rainbow? Then I started second guessing, did I make the right decision? A lot of stuff going through your mind when you lose that kind of money.
Sure. So, I'm curious, your old pal, Ric Flair, was known to have a little bit of power backstage. Do you consult with him and say, hey buddy, can you help me figure out a game plan to get some of my money back?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's the first one I saw. What's he going to do?
Right.
There's nothing he could do. There was stuff he was threatening to do. It never came to fruition. And that's a private matter, but it just, it was like he brokered the deal. The guy dumped on the deal. So now it's, I left Jim Crockett Promotions because I got screwed on the money. I left WWF because I was getting screwed on the money. And lo and behold, I get to my new employer, walking in, beaming, and I get screwed on my money again. Triple entente. Boy, what did Arn Anderson do to have God mad at him? Because that's all I could figure. God must hate me. So I don't know anything I've done wrong. And neither has anybody else came up with a reason for it. But sure happened. Bang, bang, bang.